Hello all and welcome back to the 100-Day Music Challenge. We are on day 6. I have a very brief amount of time before we go to see my cousins play Sherlock Holmes. So unfortunately this is going to be a real brief little video again. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get something a little longer. I actually have my accordion lesson. I haven't broached the idea of recording with my teacher yet, so we'll see what happens with that. But for now, since I do have that accordion lesson tomorrow morning, we're going to practice accordion. Oh boy! Ugh. So, Big Tony here, as we like to call him, is, gosh, what are you, like 28 pounds, this accordion? Something like that. And that's because it has so many octaves on it. You can get accordions of all different sizes. This one in particular happens to have 4 octaves of notes on the keyboard, but it actually has 7 octaves of range here based on the different switches that I have available to me. So I'll go ahead and get it warming up while I'm talking here, but there are 4 different reed banks on the treble side that control what sounds you get. And there are more on the bass side too, but we'll talk about those in another video. The reason that accordions have this type of thing is many of them were actually developed to be a cheaper alternative and a mobile alternative to the more traditional pipe organ when they started becoming more and more accepted as instruments that could do classical music, or, I mean, heck, they would lead worship in some small churches and things of that nature. So this one, like I mentioned, we've got 7 octaves of reeds, starting with our bassoon reeds. We've got and the neat thing with the bassoon reeds on this particular instrument, and part of the other reason that it's heavier, is this instrument has what's called a tone chamber, where some of the reeds, the bassoon reeds included, have almost like a French horn on the inside of the instrument that the reeds sit in. So instead of just having the reed right next to this grill here where the sound comes straight out, instead you have the sound kind of looping around on the inside of the instrument a few times to give it a rounder kind of sound before it then comes out to the outside world. After that we have our violin reed, which is kind of the mid. Is that? Yep. Oh, sorry. Nope. Clarinet reed. My mistake. Violin's going to be. So obviously that gets a bit higher in the register. So we had our bassoon, lowest note. If I switch to the clarinet, same thing on the high end. Except I can't do that easily from here. There we go. So yeah, and then last but not least, we have our piccolo, which is way, there we go. That'll wake up the dogs. Was in terrible position there. So when you blend those together with the different reed banks, then you're going to get different sounds. For example, the violin switch gives me 2 middles, so 2 clarinets that are tuned very close together but are not exactly the same. And that gets you kind of that more traditional sounding accordion warble, if you will. if I go more towards the high end, we can get this, let's see, I can't read what that is. I think this one's my organ setting. So this is going to use both the piccolo and the bassoon reeds simultaneously, leaving out both of the middles. You can hear how that might be used as kind of a organ kind of sound. Most accordions are going to be using this low-mid combination, which is kind of the bandoneon. So a single middle and a low, and this is just a very common thing to use. A couple other ones here. So we have our flute setting, which uses both the piccolo and clarinets together. And then, what else do I have down below? We've got our accordion, officially, which is the two middles and the bassoon reeds, so the low and the two mid. Yeah, now we're sounding like we're ready for a polka. And I think we've got a couple others, but the master switch then, which I have here on the side, but it's also the top and the bottom register, turns on all of those all together. So you're going to get just a huge sound out of it. And this particular instrument has a just variety of different dynamics that you can get it to based on how hard you're pulling on the left-hand side. So just doing a simple C major chord here, I'm going to start pulling very softly, and then we'll escalate in. So you might want to turn down your speakers or your headphones so you don't get hurt as I kind of escalated here. So starting real quiet. Start pulling a little harder. I mean, you can really get going on it. And that'll fill up our whole sanctuary at the church that I go to currently. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do with this instrument, and I haven't even started talking about the left-hand side yet. One of the other things then that I get a lot of questions on is, well, that's really neat, but why does yours look like a typewriter? It's a good question. So this instrument is called a B system. In Russia, it's known as a bayan. Bayan? I probably am mispronouncing it. I apologize if I am. But the idea behind the B system is it's a chromatic accordion, so you get the same note either direction. Some smaller accordions will be diatonic, where you get like a C major chord based note when you pull out, but then you'll get a G major based note when you go back in. And this is the same both directions. Which is the same kind of thing you would have on a piano accordion. So, okay, what makes the buttons different? What makes them special? The buttons are used quite a bit in Russia, in Eastern Europe, in Norway. That might be why I ended up picking the B system. But there are pros and cons to any of the systems you can get. The B system is arranged so that starting from this middle third row here, and working my way diagonally down and out to the outside row, those are all going to go in minor seconds, which is that warm-up that I do every time just to make sure I knock all the dust out. And then going up, going down, I should say, goes in minor thirds. I just go straight down. The reason that this is beneficial is compared to a piano, every single chord you ever play is going to be exactly the same hand position on a B system or on a C system type accordion. Because no matter where I put my fingers, I'm going to have one here, and then I move my two fingers instead of being directly beneath it, I just shift them down and to the right, and now I have a major chord no matter where I am. Well, if I don't mess up. So the idea being, okay, especially once you know what you're doing, you can make use of all these buttons without having to change in your brain, okay, I need to go from here to here if I'm doing a B major versus a C major chord. Yeah, they're all the same. You just have to remember where you're at on the keyboard at any point in time to know what key you're in. The C system does the same kind of thing, except that it goes in its minor seconds this way instead of this way. So the C system, from my understanding, is typically better for more chord-based music, whereas the B system is more oriented for being a soloistic style of music, where you're playing more melodies that aren't so heavily reliant on chords. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't work for chords. It absolutely does. If you check out like the Kiev duo, I'll try and remember to link them on the Facebook page. I don't know that they have a YouTube channel, but those two are just incredible Bayan players that play things like Vidor's Toccata between the two of them, and you see them doing all sorts of chords on the right-hand side, and it's just nuts, even though they are on the B system. So yeah, I guess that's your short little accordion lesson for the night. On the right-hand side, your melody side, what is it? What do the different registers do? What are the different reeds? And just kind of some general theory about the different systems of accordion that are available. If you guys like this kind of thing, let me know in the comments below. Give me a like. I'll be happy to talk about the left-hand side if you'd like to see what's going on with all these wacky buttons. As well as maybe I can open up an instrument if that would be interesting for you to see the inside of accordion and see what actually goes into making the noise there. But I'm going to go ahead and run through a piece real quick. I'm going to cut off the video though so that this has time to upload before we leave. So all the best to you. Love y'all, and I will see you in the next video.